have been created. The scientists disagree as to the processes which might have led to the creation of this negative image. But none, and I repeat, none of them has been able to present a scenario whereby a fake artist could have painted a negative image of Christ on a cloth. Why on earth, hundreds of years before the invention of the camera and photography, should a man conceive of a negative and produce a negative 1200 years ago, which even today the most competent artists cannot do? They know what negative is. Yet if you ask them to create a negative of Noonan, for instance, Ibrahim Noonan, they will not be able to do it. When you reprint it and create a positive, you will not be able to recognize yourself. But that image, when a positive is created from there, printed from that, presents a perfect image of a man of the description of Jesus Christ, which is found elsewhere in the books and annals. How on earth this could have happened? All they say or can say is that it is impossible. If it is impossible, how could it be there? There has to be some way available to nature, some means available to nature to create this negative image. But man has no means to create this negative image, at least at the time when the scientists agree it must have been created. They don't bring the age closer to 1200 years. So can you imagine anybody making a negative image of something when he has no idea what negative is? So the evidence is so powerful and overwhelming that this cloth cannot be declared as a fake cloth. All that they can say is that the age of this cloth falls short of the age of Jesus Christ when worked out backwards from our time. If Jesus Christ happened to be 2000 years ago, then all the best they can say is that this cloth does not reach that age backwards in time. But then, who was the person? Why this miracle? In favor of whom? Because miraculous it is. Not against the laws of nature, but miraculous, of course. So they are avoiding many important questions which have to be raised. But fortunately, there are other scholars who are pursuing this matter further. And there is one Ahmadi scholar particularly, and also an Ahmadi scientist lady in America, who have been entrusted the task by our research group here of making further investigations. And we believe, inshallah, we will be able to provide enough evidence to give a lie to the so-called NASA report and establish the fact that under certain natural circumstances, first of all, lies in the fact that when Jesus' body was taken down from the cross and pierced, blood and water gushed out. Now, every medical expert can tell you that blood does not gush out of the body of a dead man or out of a corpse. Why should it? It's coagulated. So this evidence, number two, the legs of Jesus Christ were not broken, while the legs of the other two culprits who were hanged by his side, they were broken. Again, the time he spent on the cross was no more than a few hours. On a Friday afternoon, he was hanged or put to cross, and before the sun set, his body was taken down. Because the Sabbath was to begin, and according to the Jewish practices, nobody was permitted to continue to hang when the Sabbath started. And it started with the sunset. So why should they have taken 3 days normally to kill a man through crucifixion, if he could be easily disposed of within 2-3 hours? That means normally this was a means of not only causing death but to cause torture. A death through torture was behind the design of crucifixion. But Jesus did not hang beyond a few hours. And he was a sturdy man, very stiff habits, very pure habits. So we can't imagine him having died so quickly. And another piece of evidence from the Bible is that some sorts of ointment was prepared by his disciples and was applied to his body. There is absolutely no reason for any ointment to have been applied to his body if he was not alive. Because dead men's bodies were never applied with any potions or ointments. So that is another piece of evidence why it happened. Why the secrecy about his burial place or sepulchre? Why were Jews so worried? And why they went to Pilate demanding his body? Why did they express their doubt about his being alive? If his death was so certain and the whole people had accepted as a positive, as something which had happened positively, then there was no reason why Jews should have gone to Pilate and said, produce his body or put some guards over his sepulchre, because he may not have died. And again, they blamed him, in their words, for treachery. They say he was a cunning man, treacherous man. He may come to life again while he had never died at all. So he may claim that he had come to life again while he was still alive, and having cured of his wounds, he may appear in public and say, look here, this is my miracle. All this shows that the people, the first witnesses of the time, were not sure of what had happened. The only evidence which is presented by some Christians in favor of the eyewitnesses, so-called eyewitnesses, while the eyewitness is not determined as to who it was and how close he could reach the body, is that then somebody standing nearby saw him give up the ghost. No, he didn't see the ghost escaping his body, of course. Anybody who swoons, for instance, will appear to have given his ghost to an onlooker at some distance. But this particular evidence was specifically rejected by Jesus himself. Because when he appeared to some of his disciples and they suspected him to be a ghost, he said, no, I am not a ghost. I am the same person who was crucified. Come and touch my wounds here and there, see the signs. So some unidentified witness says he gave up the ghost, and the ghost himself, the so-called ghost, says, no, I am not a ghost. So there is so much evidence, and I have spoken on this subject from various angles repeatedly during my question and answer sessions, but I think for the time being this should suffice. Thank you.
There's another question.
Yes, please. Yes.
What does your community believe about Jesus' resurrection and salvation? I think I
have already answered, but I'll further elaborate this from this